Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the realest podcast in the dunya. We are back again with the man. The man.
Oh, me? Oh, okay,
Man.
okay, bismillah. Okay, I have to say, just like getting to know you guys a little more, you all bring a really cool personality and value to this whole group dynamic. I have to say, like, everyone has like this really essential quality. I'm just realizing more, mashallah, barakallah, like I really feel like Allah has connected three completely unique personalities that somehow in such an awesome way. You know what I mean? And I think everyone has this quality. Like you have this like technical quality that pushes us to do things, right? You bring it, you calm us down a little bit, with all that astral projecting. Whoa!
Hey.
And Rami also has a very, it's sort of, you both have a very calming personality to things like that. But Rami, I don't know how to describe it. Rami just glues it together. I feel like Rami is the glue.
Yes.
Really, I think so. It feels that way to me, but hey, this is just an outsider looking in. So may Allah put more barakah in this as well too, man, because there's so many people out there who, might mistakenly put ayn and hasad on you. Mistakenly, Not even on purpose, just, out of love. That's what happened to the companions. When the companion, so they went out to like swim, and one of the companions took his shirt off, right? And the other companion looked at him and just said, wow, like your skin is like of like a beautiful, like, virgin, girl. Like it's just so soft and silky. And immediately he just fell to the floor, right? And when they brought him to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, why would you do this to your brother, right? Shouldn't you say barakallah? Right? So even though someone might be watching this, I love the three Muslims, right? MashaAllah, barakallah, but perhaps they're not saying barakallah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do that. May Allah allow us to, do the adhkar and stuff like that, to do that. And shout out to all you guys. Make sure you guys do your adhkars as well too. We gotta stay safe.
Comment down below. Let us know if you guys do your adhkars every day, if that's something you want to work on, inshallah.
Start doing it.
And let's go into it, bro. What were we speaking about in the car? That I had to stop the conversation and say, bro, we gotta make this a podcast.
It was about like just the overall social media game, and because it's definitely a game. There's a way to play this thing, and burnouts that are associated to this, people's failed marriages associated to social media as well. Yeah, bro, failed marriages, social media for sure, and I don't know. It's definitely something beneficial, but at the same time, if you're not using it correctly, it's the trap from the devil, bro. It's really a devil's trap, and I'm sure we have all been on one of those rabbit holes, either on TikTok or on YouTube or something, or Instagram, or Facebook, something where you just keep going on and on and on. But burnouts are real. Burnouts are real when it comes to this, or like school or whatever. Burnouts are real.
Yeah. So what is a burnout? What does it look like?
Did you catch something over there?
No, I decided to burp and clean myself out, Don't want to be burping on the nice microphones, mashallah. Burnouts, how would you describe it?
I think a burnout is a period of exhaustion or fatigue that follows when you don't take time to like recharge your battery. And this could be social burnout, work burnout, even sometimes burnout from stuff like school or making money or even, God forbid, the deen, bro. So many people burn out because they set these goals which are really good, but it's kind of over ambitious and they try to like go on 10. There were men that came to the Prophet ﷺ and they were saying that, because you do this, I'm gonna do this. So for example, I'm not gonna pray. Or I'm not gonna take breaks from praying, I'm gonna pray all night. I think another one said I'm gonna never sleep with my wife. And the other one said I'm just gonna fast forever, I'm never gonna break my fast. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, that's extreme. I do these things. When it's time, I recharge, break your fast, have permissible intimacy with your wife when it's necessary, when it's time, and, pray like when it's time, not like all night. I believe, I'm paraphrasing, So at the end of the day, like, we need to take time off. So even things from the deen, some people experience burnout because they just don't know when to like take time off, take a step back.
Religious burnouts, coming into Islam, and when a lot of times we are excited about the deen, we might go all in. I'm sure you've had moments like that. Do you feel like you can ever think that you had a religious or spiritual like burnout? Not spiritual burnout, but like a religious burnout or something?
Yeah, no, I've had it, man, and it's basically what you said. You get overzealous. You just get hyped. You're like, oh, all right, let me do this, let me do this, let me do this, and then like when you start doing it, it's just a matter of time before it all just falls apart. And that's why Allah said, like, was it Allah or was it the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? It's like Allah loves the thing that's done like little by little.
You mentioned the best of deeds are those that are small but consistent.
Yes, I think that's the most important part. I'm an all-in type person, but like with Islam, I've had to learn to take a little.
Actually, you know what? I want to correct myself. It's not the best of deeds, but Allah loves deeds that are small but consistent. I don't want to say the best deeds. Everyone's gonna take a step back, just doing micro little deeds. Left, right, center.
No, it's the consistent deeds, right? Because I remember I was watching this thing on like National Geographic or something like that, and they were talking about the Grand Canyon. You know, the Grand Canyon itself too. Before I thought the Grand Canyon was like a meteor had hit it or an asteroid had hit it before, right? I didn't know. And when I learned about it, there's a canyon. It's like a whole thing, right? And I had found out that the Colorado River cut through that canyon. So that water that you see underneath is the Colorado River. And it created, through time, through millions of years of just passing over and over and over again, it created a whole canyon in between them, right? And the reason I'm sharing this is because those deeds that are small but consistent creates a long-lasting impact. It might not happen immediately, right? Like those gains when you talk about working out. I know too, I'm sitting next to Marshall between personal trainers, like you'll see this, like you're not always going to see those results immediately, right? But the consistency behind it is what makes it good. And I think that burnouts happen when you try to do more than you're able to handle, right? You have to build the type of stamina, a type of muscle memory or something where you're able to sustain it, because the way you're going is unsustainable. You get me? Like if you're driving with the highest RPMs, your engine can blow out. It can catch on fire, you know? And that's what essentially I consider a burnout. Like you are putting way too much pressure on something when the engine's still cold and you have to build it up. And do you think there's any times where the Prophet Muhammad like talked about, perhaps you could like find something on the Quran for us, bro, where it talks about like extremism or something like that?
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, I recall the hadith of Prophet where he said, do not take your religion to extremes.
Yeah,
right?
Do not be extreme as matters of faith.
Yeah, and also there's a hadith, it's a very beautiful hadith of Hanzala radiallahu anhu, where I think you talked about this recently as well. He and other companions were with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and they were talking about Jahannam and Jannah as if like almost as if they could see it in front of them. Like they described it so much, it's like they could see it. That's how he reported it. Then later they left. Hanzala narrates, I went to my family, my wife, my kids, my work, I played, I laughed, I had fun, and I forgot. I couldn't see them anymore. And he went to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. He's like, yeah, Abu Bakr, I've become a hypocrite. He's like, what? Why? What happened? He's like, I was with the Prophet ﷺ. It was as if I could see heaven and hell. And I laughed, I played, and I forgot about it. I can't see anymore. He's like, Wallah, the same thing just happened to me. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ, and he told him about this. He said the same exact thing. He narrated it. The Prophet ﷺ, you know what he said to him? He said, Ya Hanzala, there's a time for this and there's a time for that.
Wow.
Very powerful. There's a time for this. There's a time for, dhikr, remembering Allah, remembering the truth, the reality, the day of judgment, death even, right? Remember often the destroyer of all pleasures is death, so on and so forth. And there's a time to be with your family, to relax. There's even one scholar, I forget who it was, but he actually emphasized taking a break and taking time to enjoy yourself. He narrated actually, he saw these two men carrying a log, right? Heavy logs, so they're doing some heavy lifting. And to kind of entertain themselves, one would say a line of poetry, and then the other one would say a line of poetry in response, trying to keep the same rhythm, and flow going back and forth. So the scholar narrates that I paused and stopped and just listened to them for entertainment. He said it's actually important if you want to keep your deen, your iman alive. You need some kind of break for that. And one thing I want to highlight is, we kind of spoke about burning out as if it's in one regard. Like you burn out with work or you burn out with religion. My experience burning out is with everything. With religion, with school, with work, with family, with the podcast, with everything. It's like everything together is like, khalas, I can't do all this anymore.
And it goes together with that triangle that you spoke about. When you feel bad, you do bad, and you think bad, and, because the burnouts don't just affect one part of your life. It's everything. You don't separate yourself from work. Like if you're having a bad day at work, you tend to bring that home, right? You're having a bad day at school, you tend to bring that home. It tends to bleed into every aspect of our lives as well too, because we can't just separate ourselves, because we're all one within those systems. But mentioning your point, there's so many perhaps failed marriages because the same thing happens as well too. Like the husband is bringing home the work. They bring home that stress. They bring home and think that it's all work, 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 work. Some people are so obsessed with money that they just want to work, and they will say, I'm working so I can provide my family with the best. And Shaitan has tricked them to believe that they're working so that your family can have the best lifestyle. But you never spend time with your family. Believe me, your children and your wife want to see you home. They want to see you spend time with you more than the money and going on trips and holidays and all that sort of stuff. So you can make this excuse about like, oh, I want to work so I can provide for my family, but to provide your family with this lifestyle. But the truth is that work is keeping you away from your family. So there needs to be a type of balance that gets struck between them. If you're a student, sometimes all you can think about is studying all the time. There's some people who are just like studiers, but like they just study. You ask them, oh, I'm studying. Like seriously, like you look like a studier, Rami. You look like you had a really good study habits and study routine. He looks like, right? Don't he look a little like a little worm, like a little bookworm over here? I think so. Yeah, you look like you have some good study habits and stuff.
I was good with it till I burnt out.
There you go. Right? There we go. And a lot of times, even those probably listening to us as well, they don't realize this, but when you're burning out, you can't perform your best. You're just not able to perform your best. The way I tend to, like when I was studying, when I learned how to study, because you have to learn how to do these things, right? It doesn't just come to you. You have to learn how to study. I didn't know that. I thought that, just pick up a book and, that's it, right? No, but there's actual ways to study. As a lot of people may or may not know this, but I told you guys, I'm professionally a school teacher, right? So you can imagine, like, I'm doing all this, right? What does a school teacher have to do, right? We have homework, right? We have to grade. We have to do, think about all the responsibilities a teacher has. I have those same responsibilities, right? And I have 120 people who expect to see a lesson every single day. Think about that, bro. 120 little humans wanting a lesson every single day, and I have to deal with all these types of personalities and all that stuff. Burnouts happen all the time. So I'm sure if there's teachers listening, they know teachers get burned out all the time. The reason I'm sharing this with you is I learned when you have to lesson plan and do all these things is that once upon a time, I would say, okay, I'm going to come home and for the weekend, I'm going to grade, I'm going to do every single thing, right? Saturday comes, I'm going to do it on Saturday. So Saturday comes and I keep delaying it. I'll do it later, in an hour, in 2 hours, and whatever. Okay, after this. And I end up never doing it. I end up not doing a single thing, okay? Then Sunday comes and all this dread starts coming with it, right? Oh, damn, it's due tomorrow. I didn't do nothing. I broke my promise. And this burnout effect is having an effect on everyone else. Now I'm taking it on my wife, my kids, my family, my mom. And sometimes we speak mean to our parents because we're dealing with personal things and we just take it on them. It's not for Allah, so your whole family gets impacted by these things. What I learned to do instead was set timers. That helps me out, set timers. So I would set a 45-minute timer and I would do nothing but that task for 45 minutes. And once that timer's on, there's no other tabs open. I'm only doing that. And subhanAllah, I found that my focus was just so spot on, right? Once that timer went off, I stopped where I was and I'm able to reward myself and do whatever I want to do for another period of time. And then I could set another 45 minutes and do it as well too. That's how I could study. That's how I could work for anyone as well too. But that was my personal experience with it. And because burnouts are realities, I don't know if people feel.
Bro, we do have to, we need to talk about this because burning out, bringing this whole stuff home from work, it's important. It makes you not present. And there's another side, social media, bro. People are they're in the same room, but they're just on each other's phones. And they're not really present. So let's talk about the second one, bro. This whole thing with social media, a lot of people are commenting, bro, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of khair that can come out of it, giving da'wah, all this. But there's a dark side to it, there's an extreme end of it, where it's no longer just doing good, it's you're literally hooked, bro. And we were talking in the car about the algorithm, right? There's people, there's nerds in in these cubicles, literally analyzing what you do, what you watch, how long you watch, when you skip, what you like to do. Your phone, subhanAllah, if you knew the analytics that TikTok's storing, bro, it knows you better than you know yourself. So let's go into that, bro.
So one thing I'd like to say, I'd like to tell you about something, about a narration about Aisha where a companion comes to her to learn, right? So she teaches it about the lesson, teaches him the hadith, whatever. We know this story, but I think it's important to see it in this regard. So a companion comes to Aisha radiallahu anha, and she, asking her to teach him something, and she teaches him hadith. Okay, the next day, that same person comes back and asks for another one. She asked a simple question, well, did you apply it? Did you apply what you learned? He said no. She said, go back and learn. Okay, so let me ask you out there, listeners, or you guys as well, too, just want to know, okay? When you've been binge watching a bunch of Mufti Mek videos, what have you applied from what they've learned? Are you just binge watching stuff? Like, are you just collecting data and just like da 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 da? Or, hey, I watched this Omar Sulaiman video. Pause. Let me go apply what I learned from what I just learned from that. You know what I mean? I just watched maybe some other video, even from you guys. Like, I listened to the Great 3M podcast, right? Now you have some choices. Like, hey, let me pause this. Let me try to see what they're talking about, right? Or do you just keep going on and on? Are you just consuming data, consuming spiritual knowledge like it's entertainment? Or are you listening to your favorite speaker and you got that thing from the TikTok, from the short, from wherever you consumed, and now you're going to go apply it? Because that hadith applies to this as well too. So I'm asking to all those true seekers of knowledge, right? Are you applying what you're learning, or are you just binge watching and consuming a bunch of entertainment? Has your deen just become entertainment? It's a thought.
This is where the intention is the most important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you grab your phone, what's the intention to use it?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to learn something? Okay, the intention is to learn. Like you said, you shouldn't be watching like 20-something videos. All you need is one. You might not even need that entire one. You might only need like the first 5-10 seconds. Like the first 5-10 seconds, you might be picking up that phone and you got your answer. You might as well put that phone back down and apply it.
There's so many videos that I've watched where immediately I paused it and I just immediately went on a tangent about what I just learned right there, and I never even got to finish it. That's great. Have you ever read a book where it was so promising and the book was so captivating, right, that you just stopped over there, you were reflecting and thinking about it, and then you start just applying what you were learning in that book so far in that moment, and you never even got a chance to finish it? That's what true application of knowledge looks like, where you're just so excited to apply what you've learned that you don't have time. And if that's how you thought, how could you really burn out? We are advised the opposite in a way, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to question us about all the knowledge that we learned but didn't act on. Think about that. That knowledge that you're acquiring could testify for you or against you on the day of judgment. What's the point of knowing so much more when you're not applying even the little that you know? And that's something that Allah will question us about, the knowledge that we had that we didn't apply. So why is it that we just want to consume? Like, are we just doing it for the sake, again, entertainment, or do we really want to apply? Because if you are pausing and slowing down and not being extreme, right, how can you get burnt out? It's such a nice rhythm. It's harmony. You're burning out because you are not in balance. You understand? That's why the burnout is happening. Because in whatever field of your life, because you're not really balanced, and everyone's balance looks different.
Yeah, actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, just to back up your point, he talks about the people, especially the scholars who have, they memorize books, or they have books, they have the knowledge, they don't do anything. You know what Allah calls them? He says they're like donkeys carrying books.
Wow.
Literally, they're like donkeys carrying. My teacher uses a much nicer example. He says it's like a hard drive, right? That's just laying there with all these files on it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says they're like donkeys carrying books. If Allah's not afraid to use that kind of example, then we shouldn't be either. Mm-hmm. So, are you a donkey carrying books, or are you...
To the viewers, are you a donkey?
Are you a donkey? No, for real though. That's amazing to think about, because a lot of us just again wants to be these consumers, and the burnout happens when you're not in balance. That's what I'm really thinking about right now. And just saying something like that, and this just applies to anything, because if you look at even the alignment of your car wheels, right? If you look at the threads of the wheels, and if one side is like rubbing a little bit more, or look at the bottom of your sneaker, right? In the back of it, some people's like side heels are like a little bit more. It shows the reason it's burning out, right? Is because too much weight is coming on one side, and the way you walk with your heel and just your alignments overall. And the really cool thing about a burnout, and I think burnouts are amazing because it's an indicator to you that something's wrong. You understand? And it's just a message. Any bad feeling, any negative emotion is a message to you that something needs to get fixed. Now you could take it as, oh my God, my day is so bad, or you gotta interpret and make a new meaning that, hey, something's off. Let me go inspect what's wrong. So maybe you go to a chiropractor and you see that, hey, maybe my alignment's a little bit off. How do I walk more correctly? You check the car out. Hey, your family could have been in danger, right? You fix the car out. When you start feeling spiritual burnout or any type of burnout within that matter, right? Instead of running away from that feeling, because that makes it worse. You run away from the feeling of burnout, like, this anxiety, you push away all these emotions. Instead, like, explore that emotion a little bit more and find out what is the message that you got to learn. Well, one message is that you got to balance things out a little better. And everyone's, like I said, balance looks different.
Yeah. I want to use the example of when you helped us set up this lighting here. Right?
Okay.
What did you do? What did you start with?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about this, do you? Okay. We turned off all the lights.
Yeah, so you started with everything.
Yes,
And you started with the back.
Yes.
Right? The kind of
Yes.
the building blocks, you built it little by little by little, and things started to come together, and now we have a nice red room, alhamdulillah. So your life is kind of like that. You have to start with what's most important, what's urgent, find a good balance, find a good amount of time you can commit to that, a good amount of effort you can commit to that, and then add school to that, and then add work to that, and then add whatever. This is assuming that deen is the first thing.
Yes.
That's the most important. Family, and then work, and school, and you find a good balance.
Bro, and just think about what you just said, like how beautiful it is, right? When you get burnt out, what happens? You stop doing everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like the same thing as like turning everything off to like build it up from there. So it's almost like Allah's like just putting this inside you, like you said, it's not really bad. It's just letting you know, hey, there was something wrong, now you gotta change it.
I think that's a really cool analogy there, Ram, mashallah, for real though, because this allows you to take control. And in one of our last podcast episodes, you talked about self-accountability and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls you to take account for yourself, It's interesting because before, it was like the lights were controlling you and how you wanted to appear, but now that we've made it all blank, you're controlling how much light you want to be dictated, right? Sometimes we get all this beautiful equipment and we don't know what to do with it, so we just think we have to use it all in one shot, even though it has no purpose of use, right? And you could start getting frustrated with the whole process within itself, but we calmed it all down, we shut it down, like you said, all black screen, blank canvas, and we just rearranged our life a little bit. A lot of people who are dealing with anxiousness, or like depression specifically, it's a call to action. That's what these emotions are. The call to action that you need to reevaluate your life and prioritize certain things, right? It's your body's way of calling you to take action about whatever's happening. So perhaps you need to turn off the lights in your life a little bit more, right? Start fresh canvas, okay? And ask yourself, what are the most important things for me right now? Okay, my deen. Let me start on my deen first, okay? Am I taking control of everything? But then you get overwhelmed. But I gotta read more Quran. No, hold on a second. Hold on. Remember, consistent. Small, but consistent. Develop that a little bit more, okay? Right now you're reading no Quran at all. So thinking that you're gonna read a whole juz is kind of unrealistic right now for you. You know what I mean? You're not reading any Quran at all, okay? So is a page okay? Okay, if it's a page okay, start there. Page feels good. You want to go for the low-hanging fruit first, really quickly. I know, the best part is above the low-hanging fruit, right? But you got to start somewhere. And when you develop that positive momentum, by Allah's permission, it's going to become 2 pages, and then 3, then 4, then a juz, inshallah. But you don't just start like you talk about workout analogies amongst the trainers over here. You don't just go for that ego lift at first, because not only will you not accomplish anything, but you could hurt yourself and be put out forever. And be done, like, I don't want to go to the gym because I slipped a disc, and now you have psychological connotations as well. Like, gym scares me, I get trauma thinking about it and all that. Versus those who have a great positive relationship with the gym, it's because they have a nice sort of relationship with it because they're doing good and they see the progress and all that, and it's something good. So start from somewhere, create a blank canvas and make achievable goals, low-hanging fruit, and just create your life to how you want to create it, rather than allowing the stress of the whole world to just dictate how you act.
And that's the thing, bro. Have you seen the graph of a 1% increase, more effort every day? And like what happens over time? Editor, you put it up on the screen, it's like the 1% compound effect. And it's exponential, bro. You literally see, if you were to be 1% better, just 1% better every day, in a year, what would happen? It's insane, it's a lot, bro.
it compounds, right? It compounds. If you look at like a fossil or something like that, right? It's from millions of years or so of compounding. It crushed it and it preserved it in the same spot. So when you get it out, it's like in a little stone almost, right? There's something about getting better every single day. Now, we spoke about this in the car about what does getting better look like, okay? And let's suppose the average person gets up at 8 a.m. They don't, but let's suppose they do, okay? And you decided, it's easy to be average. You are born average. Like everyone's born average, It's easy to be average, but above average, right, requires you to do something a little bit more unorthodox, so to speak, right? But let's suppose you decided to wake up at 7, 1 hour earlier than everyone else, right? 1 hour. What would happen is that if you did this every single day, right? Every single day for 7 days, for example, right? You would be 7 hours ahead of the person. That means you're 7 hours ahead of accomplishments than that person, okay? You take this to 3 weeks, all of a sudden you're 21 hours, nearly a whole day ahead of someone. You've accomplished and you're ahead. If this was a race, you're 1 more day ahead of that person. And if you could keep compounding this, you'll be years ahead of people before you even know it. You get me? But it came from a very small change, right? Which was that 1 hour. So I'm encouraging myself and everyone else, right? Ask yourself, what's that one tiny change that you can make in your life that can make a huge difference? Not right now, right? But that curve eventually will be skyrocketing up while everyone else is like sort of flatlines.
That's facts, bro. Do you know this guy named Faiyads? He's GSP's coach, MMA trainer.
George St. Pierre. You know George St. Pierre?
That sounds familiar too. I don't know anything.
Brother.
Can I tell you a story about UFC, by the way? I know nothing about UFC. I know nothing about it. I'll tell you a funny story though. I don't know if I've told you this before. I haven't really shared this before. It's a fun one. I think the viewers at home like this as well too. So I'm traveling. This was in December. Alhamdulillah. I was traveling. No, excuse me, not December. Like February. I was traveling for Umrah. Alhamdulillah, with my sister, and we're in the TSA line in JFK, right? And that line is just crazy. There's loops after loops after loops. So we're there. And I'm in like my thobe, I have a kufi on or whatever I have on, but it's like clearly I'm a Muslim, my sister is a hijab, alhamdulillah, so we see each other, it's happening. In the line, there's like 2 brothers who just look at us. They see us. And they gave us like that Muslim look. Like you look at someone, assalamu alaikum, kind of, one of those type of looks, right? And they were like these 2 like Russian dude kind of looking people. I don't know, but they were like, you could tell like they're sort of European, Russian. You could just tell like it's like that, right? And one dude's face was just beaten up, it just bruised. You could tell like they just came out of war, right? And they had like these UFC shirts on and stuff like that. Okay, but mind you, I know nothing about UFC at all. Like the only sport I know is like basketball.
Cricket.
And
You're Pakistani, no?
Yeah, but I don't really know it like that, that's about it, right? Even in soccer, football, right? Like I don't know nothing about it. Like I know some major players, but I wouldn't be able to tell you who's on that team. Besides, I don't even know what team they play for, but I know them, But anyways, right? So we keep seeing each other, and eventually we just get cool because we just keep looping and seeing each other each time, right? And every time we bump into each other again when we cross, we're just saying something to each other and all that sort of stuff. And they're like, oh, where are you headed to? I said, oh, we're going to Umrah and all that. She's like, they're like, oh, mashallah and all that. So where are you guys? Okay, we're going to Dubai. And I said, oh, okay, cool. And then we keep going, bloop, 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 bloop. And then eventually they let our line in first and we crossed ahead of them because they were ahead of us, right? And I'm like, see guys, look how Allah just opened the doors before you. And they laughed about it and whatever, right? Come to find out, we had the same gate. Like we were right there for the gate and stuff like that. So I'm there at the gate and I see the 2 brothers coming and everything. And it's time to pray. And these dudes ready to pray. I'm like, oh, let's pray together. We're like, all right, let's pray together. So one of the brothers goes and he changes, does wudu, he prays and everything like that. I'm waiting for the other brother to come as well too. And in the meantime, we're just like chatting and just talking to each other and all that sort of stuff. And we go about it and say, hey, what do you do? And all that. I said, listen, I have like a nonprofit. I have this clinic. And I started saying what I do. And I said, are you guys fighters? Yeah, we fight. I said, oh, mashallah, like I know nothing about fighting except like Khabib, right? Like Khabib, like that's the only fighter I know, right? He's like, oh, that's my brother. I said, oh, like I thought he sounded like brother in Islam kind of thing, right?
Khabib's brother.
No, listen.
Okay.
So it's like my brother in Islam. So I said, because I asked them to, like, are you guys brothers? They said, yeah, no, that's my brother in Islam. I said, oh, so when he said, Khabib, like, that's my brother, I thought he used to be the same thing. Like, he's like, just like you and I are brothers. Okay, khalas, right? So me and this brother, now the second brother, me and this brother prayed together, and we finished praying and all that sort of stuff, and we exchanged information and all that sort of stuff. And I said, hey brother, what's your name? He said, oh, my name is Islam. I said, I said, oh, Islam, like the religion. He's like, yeah, like the religion. We just laugh about it and all that sort of stuff. And like, okay, khalas. Now it's boarding time, and he said, let's go. I said, no, I'm on the other way. He said, oh, okay, never mind. And I said, how do we stay in touch? He's like, listen, just hit me up, message me on Instagram. I said, okay, cool. So he said, take down my thing. So I said, okay, cool. What's your handle? He said, Islam. I said, Islam. And he said, dot. I said, dot. Blah, blah, blah. Someone else. I was like, whoa, what did he say? He's like, just give me your phone, right? And he just types it all in. He said, okay, this is me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I said, okay, bro, assalamu alaikum, safe. He said, make dua for me, no problem. I said, okay, bro, assalamu alaikum. I'm walking back and look at my phone, like, what? What is this? Verified ticks, 4 million followers. I'm like, what's happening over here? And it turned out to be Islam. I think you guys know the UFC fighter. And subhanAllah, yeah. I know.
True story.
Yeah, true story to this day. And maybe you guys could verify, and he ended up following me back and everything. I don't even know. Yeah, he just did that, and we messaged on Instagram and everything. Yeah, so.
Khabib's brother.
I don't think he's his brother.
In Islam.
But they're very close.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's pretty cool. I just wanted to share that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool story to share. But I know you're a big UFC fan, so I thought that you might like it. Yeah, but I met his brother Islam. But the coolest thing was, I think that even they recognized it. Because look, you guys, mashallah, barakallah, are growing with the podcast, so people recognize you guys too. And a lot of people probably like geeked out to some degree as well too. And I think that what they appreciated was that I didn't even know. I just waited to pray with them, and I was going to be on my way. I knew nothing about them, and I didn't care. I just wanted to pray, and I didn't do that. And they turned out to be like freaking Islam, like these major UFC. And the other brother, he's another UFC fighter as well too, but I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now. Sorry, but may Allah bless him. But I don't know why we were talking about this, but I just had to mention that story. Sorry.
Inshallah. No, that was a good tangent.
Alright, let me go back to what I was gonna.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you got it. It was a good story. I didn't know you met him, but subhanAllah. So Firaz Zahabi, we had him on the podcast. He's into philosophy, psychology, and basically, brother Firaz, when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, right, he made this side tangent away from the real meat of the podcast, and he was talking about how to train smarter, how to work out smarter. I think you guys can search it up if you want. It's like a short clip from the actual podcast on Joe Rogan. And Firaz goes into like the philosophy of like or psychology of training. And he says when you train, it could be MMA, it could be bodybuilding, it could be anything. There's this level where you've trained just enough to make gains, but you haven't exceeded your mark in victory. It's not like you're exhausted. You haven't hit that fatigue zone yet. You haven't hit that point where you're gonna go home and you're gonna be, I don't want to train for like another week. And he said when you hit that mark, stop. That way you can go again tomorrow. He said there's people that go to the gym for 3 hours, then they don't go for like another week. And he says for him, he'd rather go like 45 minutes per day. And if you do 45 times 7, it's way more than 3 hours. So just like you said, at the end of the month, end of the year, how many more hours or even weeks ahead of the curve is he compared to someone that just goes all in and then burns out? And at the end of the day, when you look at like muscles, like physiology to make gains, it all depends on volume. The biggest component is volume, meaning how much are you doing, not how heavy you are, and not frequency or anything, but the volume. When we look at volume, to max it out, I would rather do a little bit, but consistently do it 365 days. Yeah, bro. So when you really put 2 and 2 together, bro, it makes sense that when the Prophet mentioned that the best of deeds, or Allah loves deeds that are small but consistent. That's facts, bro.
Small, consistent deeds prevent burnout. Think about that. Right?
How so?
Small, consistent deeds prevent burning out because of what you just said, bro. Because if you are doing something consistently, you're in flow, you're balanced. You get me? But if you start doing more than what you can handle, and I think that even that is a nice medium because sometimes you should lift more, right? Because you got to tear that muscle apart so you can start rebuilding it again, right? So we're not saying to always do the tiniest to bare minimum. We're not saying that. But what we're saying is to get in that rhythm, especially at first, and then you add another weight to it so that you can grow.
I mean, that's what, bro. At the end of the day, if you really think about it, Firas never said not to go to intensity. But he mentioned a strong point that intensity entails that it cannot be done consistently with high frequency. Because if you were going to go 100% every day, how does that even make sense? If you want 100% today, you can't go 100% today. So then you're not really going 100%. So intensity means it's only every now and then. So he's saying when you're in off season, yeah, sure. When it's time, like it's coming, it's like, you know, the match is going to be like within a month or within a few weeks, then you can step up the intensity every day or more frequently. But in off season, you shouldn't be going to intensity or failure or fatigue. It should be rare, bro. Once a week or once a month maximum.
Mm-hmm. You know, you mentioned something about, you know, even recovery, for example, going back to that working out analogy, even recovery is a part of the training, right? Even recovery is part of training to build that muscle, to do whatever you need to get to those gains to. If you're not balanced with the recovery as well, you're not going to have the same type of gains. You need to be balanced by also recovery. So, like you mentioned, bro, about the scholar who would also listen to some entertainment, you know, at the same time. That's a part of the balance process that prevents burning out. So if all you do is study all the time and you have no leisure time, right, to relax the mind so it can process a little bit. I mean, even babies, right? Why do they sleep so much? It's because they're processing all the information that they had, because at nighttime is when their brain is truly working, right? It's really working hard so it can process everything as well too. That's their balance. That's how they have to maintain balance. So asking everyone, listeners, ourselves over here as well too, even with this podcast, because let's be real, this could be draining. This could, like this whole podcast, uploading content and all the content creators out there, if someone is listening who's a content creator, it's extremely overwhelming. It could cause you to burn out. You know, it could cause you to burn out. And there's so many people who say that I need to take a break. You know, the reason you're taking a break from it is because you were working on those RPMs were too high. You know, the RPMs were too high. Rather than being smooth and consistent, you know, you were just doing more than you should have done. And consistent doesn't mean upload every day or create something every single day. Consistency means that you're working towards your goal every single day. That doesn't mean that it's getting uploaded, right? It doesn't mean it's getting created, but you're getting closer and closer to that step. So it's just about bite-sized goals that you can just, you know, get that dopamine rush by saying, got it done. Like, I made it. You know, there's something about putting a mark next to that box because it feels good that you've done something, that you've accomplished something.
So basically you're saying if you want to finish reciting the Quran, you're not going to recite the Quran entirely and finish every day, but you're going to read X amount every day.
Every day with the intention to finish it. So that
eventually
even if you died in that process, Allah would reward you as if you did finish it. You get it? Because He knew your intention the whole entire time. You know? So having that medium, that balance, because Islam is a religion of balance. It's not about extremes. If you are practicing Islam or anything else with an extreme, you're doing it wrong. You're practicing your faith wrong. You're studying wrong. You're working wrong. You're with your family wrong. It has to be a balance, and you have to strike that balance. How? What's a great way to do that? Turn off all the lights, start fresh with that canvas, and just start prioritizing what matters the most to you. It should be Allah and your family. Everything else is just an option. Allah and your family are the number one priorities that you should have, right? And to those who are single, what does that mean for family? Your mother, your siblings, your dad, like, you know, your family. That should be a priority. Allah and your family should be the priority. Everything else doesn't matter. Why are you at the dinner table on your phone talking to people who don't matter? They're not here. They're not here. They're not with you. They're not, you know, they're not gonna, they don't matter as much as the people in real life matter with you. Don't tell me that your mom is talking to you and you're looking at the phone. Don't tell me your dad is talking to you, he calls you, or your mom calls you. Yes, okay, bye. Don't tell me that the people you're with are more important than that lady who called you on the phone. Don't tell me that. You're practicing it wrong. You're not respecting your mom enough. Like, if you're texting more people than you are, and you look at your relationship with your mom and it's all the way at the bottom like that, like, come on, you really have to prioritize your life, because we spoke about this. One day, that lady won't be around. One day, you're going to be giving a ghusl to your dad. That's the fact. You're going to give a ghusl to your dad. That's a fact. That's going to happen. So why are you waiting to touch their cold corpse before you realize how much regret you have for not telling them you love them or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, don't do that to yourselves. Go and tell your parents, tell them you love them, prioritize them while they're in your life right now. Prioritize Allah, prioritize the people who matter the most in your life, because that TikTok is still going to be there. That PS5, that Call of Duty, that FIFA, that NBA 2K, all that stuff is still going to be there. But obeying your mom when she said, hey, take out the garbage, or when your sister said, hey, I need to move the car, can you clear the driveway? That response is something that means more than anything else that you're doing right now.
It's facts, bro. It makes me reflect a lot, man, because in today's day and age, we're actually taught like, oh, purpose first, purpose first, purpose first. And it's like, well, now you become Muslim or you're born Muslim, like, and you come back to the deen, you understand, okay, it's Allah first.
Mm-hmm.
But then now that you know that it's Allah first, now you still have the whole thing in society being pushed, like, oh, purpose first, at least for men.
Mm-hmm.
We're taught like, oh, we need to have this purpose. And while I do agree to a very large extent that we need to have something that we're working towards, that we can use to provide a means for our family and for ourselves, we shouldn't be living to work. We should be working to live, like working so that we have more time with those that we love most. I think that's very important.
You said we shouldn't be living to work, but working to live.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Inshallah. Yeah, and you'll find that a lot of these things overlap, especially when you go in that order: Islam, family, work, and that stuff. Because if you look at Islam actually gives rise to your family, gives priority to your family. So if you actually are practicing a Muslim, right? You're a practicing Muslim, you'll find that I need to be there for my parents, for my children, for my wife, for my brothers and sisters. I need to actually maintain that kinship with all of them. And that's when I prioritize Islam, that's what happens. I need to take care of my family, that means I actually have to work now. So now I'm going to go to work, and it kind of, you'll find these things actually work in some kind of congruent manner.
It's a holistic, all-encompassing thing. Putting Allah first naturally gets all the other affairs set.
100%. And then you'll actually realize there's a time for this and a time for that. Because Islam says there's a time for this and time for that, right? You'll find that there's a time where I need to be alone and pray my salah by myself and read Quran by myself and reflect. Maybe it's only 20 minutes, maybe it's only half an hour. And you'll find there's a time to be alone with your wife. And the time to be with your kids together, and every individual kid by themselves. There's a time to get them a gift, and time to be stern with them and firm with them. And there's a time to go and work and make money for your family and provide for them.
Ask you, bro, listen.
I was about to say, I got examples, boy.
Go for it.
I wanted to share these examples with y'all.
Listen to that.
Okay, so before I became Muslim, I was the exact thing that you just mentioned, where I would be with my mom, but I wasn't with her. I was messaging friends or messaging, women folk, right? And or I was playing video games or something like that, right? Then I became Muslim, and then, or actually before I became Muslim, I understood purpose. So then it's like now I switched from me like messaging a whole bunch of people while being with her to now me just completely not being with her and just focusing on purpose. Right, then I became Muslim. I was like, oh, Allah first. Okay, I do need to put Allah first. So I started putting Allah first. But then anytime I'm with my mom, I'm like just basically pushing to the side because I'm thinking to myself, no, I need to learn more about Islam. I need to learn more about Islam. But there's a time and place for everything, right? So then this is happening. And then I started getting to the point where I realized my mom needs help. I was in Thailand, and Allah made it very clear to me, like, look, it's your time to leave Thailand. As much as I wanted to stay in Thailand, like Allah made it very clear, like it's time to leave. It's time to help my mom out. And I come to the US again to like help my mom out. And I'm thinking to myself, Allah's putting me back in this situation to help financially, to be the man, right? So I'm like doing this, I'm like full on my purpose. And then my mom's literally like, she's kind of breaking down. May Allah bless her. But she was breaking down in a way where I was like, I literally asked her, I was like, why are you saying this? Like, I'm literally here. Like, I came from Thailand. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm providing. Like, I'm doing all this. Like, why do you even feel like that? She's like, I need you here. I don't need you to pay for this and that. And bro, like when she said that, I was like, ooh, like that hit me. Like it hurt, bro. Like I'm getting like teary eyed because like that hurt. Because like as a man, I was thinking like I had to provide this way when all my mom wanted was just like me there, like my attention, my energy, bro. Like the presence, bro. Like that's powerful. That's what I'm saying, like bro, like family first or family. Like,
people think women, but not just women, but family, but especially your woman, bro. People think they just want one thing at a time, bro. It's pleasing a woman, satisfying a woman is so much different than for women pleasing men, bro. We were talking about this in the car. A lot of people, they don't just want one thing. And this kind of ties into the whole love language thing we were talking about, bro. Sometimes people just want time from you, quality time. undivided time, not you on your phone and all this stuff, just presence, right? Sometimes your spouse wants intimacy. Sometimes they want you to take them somewhere. Sometimes they just want you to listen and they want to talk, right? It's different, bro. So as brothers and sisters that are tuning in, it's really important to be catching all these things around and like seeing what people really want. Because no one's gonna be direct, bro. Like your mom didn't say this in the beginning, but I just want you to hear, you know, like it's in a way, it's kind of like, oh, why didn't your mom say that? We could do the argument, but bro, it's not your mom's job to tell you that. At the end of the day, it's our job to like pick these things up and notice. You know what I mean?
If she would have told you that, maybe it would have been as impactful because you didn't realize you were doing something wrong the whole time. You get it? Because you kept on mentioning the word, you know, I was doing this, I was doing this, I was doing this, right? And you really have to ask yourself, like, if you're doing it for the sake of Allah, whether someone appreciates it or not, it doesn't matter, right? You do it for the sake of Allah. When the I is involved, there's a lot of ego involved, right? Like, I gotta be the man, I gotta do this. And when she said that, it just took away your ego immediately, right? Immediately, like, it just stripped you of it. Like, that's not what she wants. She wanted this, right? And that's something we got to remember. A lot of times, like our family, they just want you. They just want quality time with you. They don't want you to buy them and take these on holidays and all that sort of stuff. Those are, in my opinion, a lot of times distractions from the real problem. You know, it's a distraction because you're trying to buy your love, buy your quality time, and sometimes you just go for a walk. It's cool, man. It's cool. Like you guys just want to spend time together, but again, everyone's balance is a little different. You know, everyone is balancing differently, but you have to start somewhere. You have to realize that, you know, reprioritizing your life and making sure that Allah is the top of the priority will help. It's like, you know, when the canvas was blank, where do we start first? You start with Allah. You start with your relationship with Allah. Because a lot of people might be wondering, okay, SQ, 3 Muslims, this sounds really good. Where do I start to regain my balance? Start with your relationship with Allah. Because it's Allah who's going to put barakah in everything else for you. You know, so like all those things that are burning you out, why are you giving it so much importance when you can just call out to the one who can put blessings in that thing that's causing you to burn out? Like, just ask Allah to show you the way to perform that work. Show me the way. And, you know, even if your marriage and, you know, maybe perhaps your husband isn't the way you want him to be, right? Or that's good for you. Or your wife isn't the way you want her to be or that's good for you. Oh, Allah, make them good for me. Have you thought of that, right? We are so, you know, hellbound on trying to change them. Why are you trying to change them? Ask the owner of the heart to turn their heart. Why am I trying to do that? Remove the I from your language and from your vocabulary and just turn to Allah. Stop thinking that I have something to do with it. I have nothing to do with it. It's all Allah. You know, and you were asking me this question, like, aren't you worried about like your daughters and like the world they're living in? Like, I might be worried, but you know, when they go out to school, I have no control over that. So, oh Allah, take care of my daughters. Oh Allah, take care of my children. Take care of my family. Allah, I'm not home. Allah, be there with them. Be there, watch over them. Allah, take care of them. That way you're developing more tawakkul and yaqeen in your relationship with Allah as well too. So those are like extra hacks for people to develop a better connection with Allah.
So let's go into that. How do you maintain and strike that balance with your family personally? Because, bro, being a social figure, being an influencer, having a YouTube channel, having XYZ, all of these things that you're trying to do, you have the project Zamzam, mashallah, guys, link in the description, guys, come on, support that now.
Appreciate that.
All this stuff that you're doing, mashallah, tabarakallah, may Allah increasing that tenfold, thousandfold, millionfold. But how are you doing this and still giving your family time? I know it's an acquired taste, it's learned art, but we talked about this thing, something about unavailable. What were you saying on that?
What did you ask?
Something that you're not unavailable, or something. You're not busy, you're unavailable. Yeah. So what do you?
Yes. No, you should be asking. Let's do that.
I don't know. We're figuring this out.
We're figuring this out, but we're going to that.
So you're asking me how do I strike that balance between everything like that? I think before I was terrible at it. I'm still not good at it. I just want to be clear. May Allah make me better, but I don't know. I don't have the answer, and I don't want to front like I do have the answers. All I know is I've messed up a lot. And I have the scars to prove it, bro. I have those fights with my wife and relationships to prove it. I have those missed moments with my daughters to prove it. I have those, you know, late nights in the lab trying to upload a video to prove it. You know, I have those times I've missed my daughter going to bed or reciting Quran to them while they're going to bed, something to prove it, you know? So I'm not here to tell you that I have those answers because I don't have those answers. But one thing, alhamdulillah, that Allah has allowed me to do is take one thing at a time. I think that when you do too many things at once, you're unable to really do justice to any one thing. So again, just starting off from somewhere and just giving it a lot more attention. So you're right. When you do so many things, naturally one thing is going to suffer. It's just common law. That's going to happen. Something is going to take effect. Something is going to mess up. But again, I think that I've learned from all those mess ups. For example, when I started doing my daily uploads, it was once upon a time that I was uploading every single day. And honestly, it put me off from even wanting to do YouTube. Like, it was just, like, I remember once upon a time when all I did was make sure that I needed to be the first one to upload something about it, right? I needed to be the first one. Oh shoot, Logan Paul said something about God, gotta make a video.
Yeah.
But babe, we were about to go do something. I know, babe, but I gotta do this.
It's viral. It's viral.
I gotta talk about this.
Bro.
I gotta talk about this. Oh, they something about, oh, they did this thing about Islam. I gotta go make a video about it. You know, I gotta go do all these things about it. And it was taking away from the quality of my life. It was taking away from the quality of my content. And it became like this rush job that I started to do. And the biggest thing that I feel like it took away from was my sincerity and my niyyah of why. Because before you press record, you should have some niyyah and sincerity. And look, only Allah knows what the true niyyah is, right? I can sit here and tell you it's to inform people, it's to give dawah, it's to tell people about what's happening and all that sort of stuff. But if I'm being honest with myself and may Allah purify me, the other part of the niyyah also was so I could be the first one to do it. I'm competing amongst other Muslim YouTubers, right? Because, oh, I know, damn, that YouTuber is going to talk about it first. Then who's going to want to watch my video? I need to do I got to be the breaking news person like that. Like, what is this, drama alert? Like, what is this? You know, like, what is this, like, is this Islamic? Is this what I'm doing now? Is this what it comes down to? Like, I just got to make the first video about it. Oh, shoot, they said something about it. And shout out to, more power to you if you're doing those things. I'm talking about myself, obviously, right? And, you know, this brings me to the point of when, you know, the people will be brought before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, and it will be the martyr. He stands in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you know, he died for the sake of Allah. He's gonna say, you know, what have you done? I went for jihad, fi sabilillah, I died for you, Allah, and I fought for you and all that. And then Allah's gonna tell him, you've lied. You did it so that you could be the hometown hero. You did it so that people could say what a strong and brave warrior he was. It was not accepted. Hellfire, right? A person, a scholar, right? Who someone who memorized Quran or learned, right? Got deen, got the knowledge, right? What did you do? I saw knowledge for you, Allah. You've lied. You did it so that people can say you're educated. You did it so people can say doctor. That title. You did it so you could get one of those marks on your head. That's why you were praying. You weren't really praying. You were trying to do it for a show. Only Allah knows that niyyah. You understand? And that's what I had to realize, that not only was I burning out in that process of, I gotta do it. It made me become someone I'm not. And there's so many people out there, whenever there's something, because they're searching for content. You guys are content creators, right? Sometimes you know that you're thinking about content, like, what should we post about? What should we do about? It becomes very tedious and difficult at times, you know? And these people are thinking all the time, so, oh shoot, let me talk about LGBT. Let me just talk about it. Let me just talk about this new celebrity did something. Let me talk about them. They're creating content all the time about these things. And look, may Allah reward them, okay? I don't want someone to think that I'm trying to throw subs at anyone.
No, we're not being bitter,
It's not like that. If it works for you, cool. I'm talking about my experience. I was doing this thing, and I just don't think that was the right way to do it for me. And it caused me to get burned out, and I had to take a step back. But the good thing about taking a step back, it's not a bad thing. Burnouts aren't a bad thing. It showed me that I'm not doing something correct. Now, alhamdulillah, I feel like I found a really good balance between things where I upload when I want to upload. I don't, it's not like when I'm between two uploads, I'm not doing anything. No, I'm actually trying to perfect that upload that you're about to see. And I just drop it when I'm ready to drop it, you know? And it's cool. Like, I just move on my own speed. I move at my own time. And I just move with better intentions and better niyyah now. I don't want to just post for posting anymore. And, you know, shout out to all those people who are watching my content every single day uploads, but it was taking a toll on me. You know, at first it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Like I just do it. I wasn't even editing. If someone goes back to the videos, I don't even edit them. I just like post it raw, exactly out the camera how it is. That's done. But there were times where I was just talking about jumping on the bandwagon of whatever's hot, you know, because that's a growing technique. Let's be serious over here, right? That's a algorithm technique, right? Where you talk about that trending topic, right? Oh shoot, Will Smith took a slap, he slapped them. Okay, how can I make a video about that within Islam and all that shit? Okay, let me think. Nothing, no disrespect to anyone.
Bro, I feel attacked.
It's not that. Like, you know, Lightyear came out with it, like, how do I make a thing about that? Like, you know, whatever it might be. Like, there's YouTubers who do that, and I think that that's needed. That's needed. Like, I don't want, like, there's gonna be so many people upset with me. Like, I'm not trying to target anyone. When I was doing that, it took me away from the sincerity. It just made me feel like I was on high alert all the time, you know, about some amazing article that I need to make a video about. Like, oh, should something happen and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you know, people are you know, being harmed in Kashmir, and no one's really talking about that, right? The Rohingya refugees are still in Bangladesh. No one wants to talk about that because it's not that trending of a topic, right? So where did my sincerity really lie? Like, did it lie with the algorithm, trending topics, trying to make like these clickbaity things that people are gonna watch, or is this really to help the ummah out? Is it really, am I trying to do that, you know? And at first I feel like I was, not that I wasn't. I believe there is sincerity in that, but I just had to really take a step back from all those things. So if you're asking, how did I do the Zamzam? How am I doing all that stuff? I just take my time with it, bro. I don't think that, you know, people might be saying, okay, SQ, you've been selling the Zamzam. Where's the school in Palestine? Do you even know what it takes to build a school in Palestine? Like, I'm doing it. I'm doing like a million things. It's happening when it happens. Keep making dua for each other. Let's stay sincere. Let's stay the course, and, you know, just be patient with things. It'll work out when it works out. So that's working for me, bro. I just take my time with it. Take my time.
That was mashallah.
Yeah,
So
that
many
was
gems.
very eye-opening. You
Really? But when you guys say that to me, I'm like, really? I'm like, oh, it was kind of just.
For you, but that's how we all feel when we speak.
Mhm.
Because we've already internalized it, and to us, it's kind of like, okay, yeah. But like when we say it, remember how I told you, like, we say something, and like you could want to tell us something, but we're gonna pick up from that whatever we need to pick up from. You know, we may have not even picked up the thing that you wanted us to pick up on, but we picked up on something.
SubhanAllah. And may Allah use me to provide more beneficial knowledge to people. May He use you guys in this platform and all the da'is out there, you know? I think that's one thing that really clicked with me, that changed with me. And this is a conversation I have with my wife, because when I was doing this, going back to that point of daily uploads or talking about this topic or that topic that was trendy or whatever, you know, it comes with expectations. I didn't get the view. That's problematic, man. That's really problematic. Like, I needed to understand, why did that hurt so much? Why did it hurt that my view didn't get it? You know, like, you know, why did it hurt so much that that didn't get a view? Why is that bothering me so much? And I realized I'm putting so much effort into it, investment into it, whether that be time or whether it be buying something for a video. And my wife had to, this is why I tell you guys about the wife thing, guys. Like, you know, I know one amongst us, you know, one person else is married over here, and mashallah, other brothers are getting married very soon, mashallah, mashallah. And, you know, it's something you guys gotta remember. When you have that companion, they can talk you off the edge. They talk you off that ledge because you just want to quit. You're like, you know, I'm done with everything. I don't want to post nothing. And she said, and this is where it helped. You give da'wah. You're a da'i. That's what you are. You're a da'i. You're doing this for the sake of Allah. You're a servant of Allah. And you know, when I started taking on that identity, then it just didn't matter. It just didn't matter if you watched it or not. It just didn't matter. It still doesn't matter to me. And every time, and may Allah keep me more sincere with this as well too, Ed. Every time when I upload, I have a ritual now. The ritual is, you know, it sounds funny, but I make fresh wudu every time before I do an upload, and I make a dua. Ask Allah, oh Allah, you know, keep me content. Make me content with the risk that you give me. This risk doesn't mean money, right? The risk is the barakah. It's the goodness. It's just all forms of goodness that comes from that. And I just ask Allah to make me content with it. And alhamdulillah, like ever since I've been doing that, whatever I get from this, I'm happy with it. Like, I just feel happier. It feels like there's more blessings in it. And I get geeked out now if I get more views than I'm expected to, and it's performing better than it does. And I'm just so much more grateful.
Yeah.
I'm just so much more grateful now. Rather than I posted it, I'm checking it, I'm refreshing it, I'm like, that can't be right. Come on. And I'm just like, why is that happening? Now I'm just getting geeked. I'm like, yo, it popped. Oh, subhanAllah. You know, because I have no expectations now. I'm content.
You leave it to Allah.
I'm content. I've left it to Allah. I'm content. And I'm asking Allah, oh Allah, utilize this to spread your deen. Utilize this, utilize me, utilize this platform that you've given me to spread your deen. You know, utilize these things, Allah. Utilize me to spread your religion. Allah, make this religion is going to be successful. Allah, utilize me to help make it successful, you know? And asking Allah to be a part of it, you know? Just renewing my intentions with each video I'm uploading. So someone might wonder, ask you need to upload more. And people tell me that now, versus when, it's so funny because I used to upload every day. Now people tell me you should upload more. And if you're wondering why I haven't uploaded in so long, it's because between one upload and the other, what's happening is not only is the video being edited, but my intentions are being renewed. And it takes time. For me, it takes time. And I just need to take my time, renew the upload, renew the intentions with the new upload, and take it from there.
Inshallah. Very beautifully said. Before you end off, I don't want to comment on that because I think you obviously summarized it really beautifully, especially from your experience, mashallah. What I do want to comment on is the whole kind of balancing, more so the family aspect of it. Alhamdulillah, I'm in a position where I see myself as responsible for my family. Alhamdulillah. And I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about every way. The growth, the development, them feeling loved and appreciated and all that stuff. So I feel like, alhamdulillah, I've learned a lot so far. I picked up on a lot of things about Allah. I think a good way to summarize it is it's not about doing a lot. And it's not about doing big things. It's about doing the right things. When it comes to people, these are human beings, right? Also with my work, I deal with human beings. You could text someone, 3 days in a row, but it might not mean as much as giving them a call once a week. Because that call, the intimacy, I'm not talking about intimacy like in a romantic way, but that intimate talk, you can have intimate talk with your brother, right? Intimacy is just something that, like, you're close to somebody, right? So you can have that with anyone, but it's just a matter of doing it the right way. Imagine playing chess, right? In chess, you don't just want to move a lot of pieces. You don't want to move, you don't want to make like big moves. Like, I'm going to move the queen on the other side of the board. But you want to make the right moves, right? And think about, imagine you got your wife like 10 gifts, but none of them were things that she has used for or likes at all. Imagine you, like, especially with women, like, they have a very specific aesthetic, very specific fashion sense. And you get them 10 items of clothing that is so far away from their sense of fashion, they would honestly feel a little upset.
And if they didn't appreciate it, you'd feel upset in return, right? Yeah. But that's the beauty of doing something for the sake of Allah. If you kept them the best in your mind when you did that action, Allah has already rewarded you. Whether they appreciate it or not, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because Allah will reward you. And if they are displeased with it, you turn to Allah. You don't get mad at them. You don't have a fight with them. You turn to Allah and say, oh, Allah, if you know I did this for your sake, then reward me for it, right? And, this goes to the story of the men who were trapped inside the cave and the boulder came in front of it, right? And every man told a story about what they did. And they said, oh, Allah, if I did that for your sake, remove the rock. And everyone's rock removed a little bit, right? So if you did something for someone and you did it for the sake of Allah, then it doesn't matter if they appreciate it or not. As human beings, obviously we like the gratification, we like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I understand, and as someone who fears Allah, they need to also be smart and say, hey, let's start off with appreciating the fact they did that, right? Like, I'm sure they deserve someone to remind them, like, hey, like, don't do that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might be upset with them for doing that. And I think a good person would recognize that, I need to like really be appreciative of this as well too, And it reminds me of one of the first fights I got into my wife. My very, very first fight, right? And this is when we were first like talking, and we had gotten our nikah done, but she was still in the UK and I was still in the United States, right? And I had gotten her something that I thought that she would like. It was a pair of like some type of shoes, and I got it for her, and she didn't like it at all. Like, I was so geeked to like got it because I secretly got her shoe size. I did all these things, and I went all around it, got it ordered from the UK, sent over to her from her favorite shop and this and that. And when she got it, she was just like, it's not even, I can't wear shoes like this because this is this and this. And I remember I was at work when this happened. I was just so upset, bro. honest to God, and Shaitan comes to you even more, right? He's like, this is the one you're marrying. Oh, she doesn't even respect you now. What are you going to do later on? And I was just so upset about it. And I spoke to her about this. Like, yo, I did this for you. You don't even consider what I had to go through to do this. And then she was just like, listen, I didn't mean it like that. It's just I can't wear these type of shoes and all that sort of stuff. And that put like a really bitter taste in my mouth at that time. If I could go back and redo that again, right? I would have handled it completely different. I would have realized that, hey, look, I did this for the sake of Allah. Babe, no problem. Oh, babe, no worries, babe. There's a receipt inside of it. Send it back and get the one that you want. I love you. It doesn't matter, right? Because if I did it for the sake of Allah and she's communicating that she didn't like them, just have her take care of it, right? I still got the reward from it. Right? Yeah, I didn't get the fact that she likes that or whatever, but what's better, that or this immature aspect that you're just going to fight with her and do that and show a really ugly side of yourself as well too? Because I've changed since then, and I remember when I was in Saudi and I had to get my wife something, a gift, and I was afraid to get her something because I'm like, I know she's kind of picky with it. And I spoke to my wife. I'm like, hey, I want to get you something, but I'm not sure what you might like. And I learned to maybe consult her a little bit with more of the gifts. And she told me, she's like, I'm not that same person that you gave the shoes to before. You get me anything, I'll love it, right? Yeah, there's a maturity process that everyone has to go through. There's a maturity process that we all have to go through. And I had to go through that, and she had to go through that as well too. And it's all about growing and getting closer to Allah. So I just think that when you do something for the sake of Allah and you hold the door for someone and they don't say thank you, they pass by, you're like, you're welcome, passive aggressively, starting up, you're welcome. No, because you did this for the sake of Allah. You did it for the sake of Allah, and if they say thank you, it doesn't matter. Allah is a shakur, right? We spoke about this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a shakur. He's already showing you the gratitude for that act by giving you the reward. So what else do you want? Whether they give, your reward is not with you, giving thanks to me, right? You showing appreciation for me being here. It doesn't matter. I did this for the sake of Allah as well too. We all did it for the sake of Allah, and it does show that we do need to appreciate each other. So that doesn't mean you don't know, because you should show appreciation towards the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because when you're appreciative of the people, you're actually showing appreciation of Allah. So you should go out of your way to make them feel special. You should do these things. If someone does something for you, ask yourself, how can I do more for them? You look in the mall today, that the Muslims, they gave us the pizza, right? I was playing around with them and they gave us the pizza, but then I went and I gave them the water, right? Because I just wanted to show some appreciation. It's something small, but you gave them the water, right? You want to ask yourself, how can you show appreciation? When someone does something for you, I need to get them back somehow. You should start plotting on how can you show them appreciation. When someone does something for you, how can you do more for them than they did for you? You know what I mean? I think so.
MashaAllah. Man, I wish we could speak forever, bro. But guys, let us know if you want to ask you back. This was such a fulfilling episode and discussion, bro. And I'm truly appreciative for meeting SQ. I'm sure you two are as well. And just all the conversations that we've had with him on and off camera, and just all the limited amount of time that we've known you. This is our second time interacting, because the first time was the podcast a year ago, and then the second time now is you coming here. But
yes. And I told you about this that year ago. If you guys check out that podcast, my very first, the virtual, which was online, you guys check that out. So too, I was in a crossroads of my life at that time.
Really?
Complete crossroads of my life. Yeah, I was at a full crossroads of my life, guys. I didn't know which direction to go in my life. I was burnt out. I truly was just burnt out with everything. And again, when you're burnt out, you just want to quit everything that you do. And YouTube and all these things was one of those things. That I just wanted to quit, and I just wanted to just stop everything like that as well. And that's just the trap of the shaitan. But the advice that I'm given is the advice that the Prophet Muhammad gave to the companions who were supposed to be on that mountain of Uhud, on that mount of where the archers were, which was to stay put. If you're out there, if you're doing some work for the sake of Allah, stay put. Stop deviating. Stop thinking you need to give up. Stay put. Stay consistent. Stay put. Do what you must. But just stay put. Just stay where you are and keep on doing it. The shaitan wants you to come down from that hill. He wants you to come down. Stay put. And I was at this crossroads because I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. I just felt like I was being like everybody else. So when I was making those videos about Logan Paul or whoever, whatever that influencer did to that influencer and that person did to that person and I was just becoming everyone else. I was just like every other person What was unique about me? Nothing. And I just realized I need to be myself. Plain old. And how? I need to do a little soul searching. I need to figure out what I need to do. I turned off the lights and I just turned on what I wanted to turn on, and I just refigured some things out. I found out what are my best qualities. Because when you try to be someone else, you lose yourself. You gotta be yourself. And a lot of times we don't know who we are because we don't spend enough time with ourselves. Spend time with yourself. Figure out what are your likes, your dislikes, and all that. And just see where your gifts are. Allah has given us all a gift. Let's apply those gifts. Let's first recognize what those gifts are. The number one gift is to recognize who Allah is. And that's the biggest gift that we can have, and we recognize that. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless everyone who was listening out there for real, for real. I appreciate you guys. 3 Muslims, mashallah. It was such, like every time I see you guys, every time we meet up for this podcast, it brings a different type of appreciation in my life for you guys. And I really appreciate and love you guys. Thank you so much for the invite, as always. And the realest podcast in the dunya for sure.
Allah bless you.
Love you for the sake of
Allah bless
Allah,
you.
bro.
Allah bless you. Love you guys.
Thank you so much
for
for
watching.
coming on.
Always, bro.
With that being said,
Before Rami ends it off, please, one more time, guys, hit the links in the description. Check out the Zamzam project. Super important stuff, guys. May Allah accept it from you and all of us.
Allahumma ameen. With that being said, Allahumma atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.